we'll get the meeting started. It's time now is 5:47 p.m. This is the March 3rd meeting of the Taxation Aid Committee. And in keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance will be made remote, and remote attendance shall count toward quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. To use Zoom, you can use the link on the agenda or download the Zoom app and create an account, or use one of the call-in numbers listed on the agenda. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our standard procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. While board members or commissioners and applicants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as an attendee, meaning they are muted with no video feed from them. During public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raise hand function found under the participants from Zoom, or make a request with the Q&A function. There is a markup function in the Zoom which will allow you to call out specific areas of presentation materials. As in any public meeting, indecent behavior will not be tolerated, and anyone who abuses use of the meeting platform will be terminated from the meeting. Business will be handled at all times indicated on the agenda. Business not concluded in the allotted time will be tabled at the end of the meeting to allow for timely logins and remote attendance. Board members are asked to announce themselves when making a motion in seconds so that it will be clear to the audience and minute takers who made motions. All votes will be made by roll call. The business indicated on the agenda has been completed. The members will vote to adjourn the meeting, signaling the end of the meeting and termination of the ECAT recording. All participants will be disconnected from the webinar at that time. Applicants will join the webinar as an attendee and be promoted to panelist at their agenda item. Applicants will then be able to share their screens and present materials. And individual board chairs and staff may wish to keep screen sharing to their computer. Applicants are encouraged to speak with staff prior to the meeting on how material will be presented. Please note that this meeting will be recorded and televised. And to just kick it off here with we have our cameras off. Could we do a roll call? We'll start with you, Andrew.
Andrew, yes.
Hawks, yeah. Hawks. Up and Hawks, yes.
And
Okay.
McKenna, yes.
Thank you all. And first meeting on the agenda, the first item on the agenda is to approve meeting minutes from January. Those were sent out. I think it's been a little while now. Those were sent by Kelly. And did anybody have a motion, or did anybody have any?
I'll make the motion
Okay.
to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion made by Mike to accept the minutes, seconded by Andrew. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Hawks, aye.
McKenna, aye.
All right, that passed. Item number 2. Criteria for ARPA grants. Andrew, this was one of your items, but kind of let you start off, and then I think Linda, maybe you have something to chime in on that from our conversation earlier.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we were talking about last time was whether or not we need to make changes to the application, or if we can just use the existing application. Linda had sent an email to me indicating, well, my main concern, we'll start there. My main concern was that the guidelines in this, the ARPA paperwork, the overview of the final rule, the recovery funds, the guidelines that they had established was 65% of AMI, and we're currently using 80%. And I think other than that, I had thought that our application was fine and met the requirements that had been listed. But then Linda had thought that maybe we could keep our existing application at 80%. So do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. We were thinking about the 65% because it seemed that it was indicated in the ARPA guidelines that 65% was sort of the preferred target audience, if you will. But there's other language in the ARPA guidelines that clearly allows us to adjust that as we see fit for our town. So given that, I was thinking that we should just keep it at 80%. The town administrator and the finance director are very much in favor of that. And they have no problem with that. So I would just recommend that we basically do a second round of disbursements administered by the Taxation Aid Committee, you know, under the umbrella of what it is that we're allowed to do, and just do a second round. It's going to be using all of ARPA funds, although I do have other good news, but I'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, so I think the 80% is fine.
Okay.
That's good. Because 65%, that would really limit us. I think the 80% really, it lets this program be separate from what's already out there, you know?
Yes.
That's really good that we're still able to do that.
Yeah, I agree. One of the good things about our program is that we can catch people that are kind of in the margins in between normal financial aid. So I think it's I would agree that if we can, and if everyone's on board, that we keep the same application and the same criteria, and roll that forward for any ARPA grants that we award. I don't think we need to vote on it if everybody's in agreement, because we already voted on the existing application.
Yep.
So I think if everybody, unless anybody disagrees, I think we can, just move forward.
Yeah, I also like that idea because it's I think it keeps us very focused on our objective and our purpose as this committee is concerned. As the Taxation Aid Committee, we're not the give away money committee. We have a specific purpose, and I think our charge is well met by keeping it at 80%. Just my opinion there. So I'm good with that.
Yep.
Okay.
Tell me when we're ready to go on to number 3, because I have good and bad news.
Yeah, ready for number 3. So
all right,
publicity
okay.
And outreach.
So let me give you the good news first. The good news is that I checked into the account when we sent out the excise tax bills. The notice, the flyer went out to 21,000 excise tax bill recipients. And we got a lot of, we did much better sending it to the excise tax. People who own vehicles are apparently a little bit more generous than people who own houses. So I'm sure it's a lot of the same people. But we now have more than $6,500 in the taxation aid fund, which is good considering we had drawn it down to about $1,300.
Wow, that's great.
So, we're back up, and that's very encouraging. I'm hoping that we'll be able to send out another flyer, either with the July tax bills or with the actual tax bills going out next year again. July would be better. The July tax bills would be better, but we can talk about that in another meeting. Now, as far as the bad news, it's not necessarily bad news, but Connor and Wendy have been, Connor and Connor, the town administrator and the finance director, have been discussing things. When we put our applications in, we have to apply for the ARPA money. The ARPA money is given, but we have to tell the county what we're doing with those funds. And so that's something that the town administrator and finance director are driving. But while they were doing it, they sent an email around today, and something in the email caught my eye that seemed to indicate that our use of these funds was not a given. And oh, let me find my email. So I asked Connor to clarify whether or not we would be able to roll this second round out fully, or whether we were still waiting for some, you know, for some further word from the county that we could use the funds. And the answer to my question, can we roll this out fully, is that no, we can't advertise to citizens to seek ARPA funded dollars via the Taxation Aid Committee yet. But you can let the committee know that we've applied or filed for the funds with Bristol County and are actively engaging the compliance and review process with the county auditors to get pre-approval on the front end. So they're trying to get, even before we get the money in our bank account, they're trying to get pre-approval for this process. So that's, I was a little surprised at that, because I thought it was a little bit more, I thought it was a little more solid than that. But it's not. But I don't think that that would prevent us from basically outlining what our steps will be as soon as we get the go-ahead, so that we can immediately do what, you know, advertise on the website, advertise in the weekly bulletin.
Well, that is surprising to hear from me, because there is some talk even of being able to use these funds last November or December. So I would say
Yes.
that is news, and I wish we would have known that sooner.
Yes.
But things happen. I understand guidelines, and everybody's got things they have to meet.
Yeah.
But this kind of blows up our whole timeline for a second round of applications, does it not? I feel like we can't.
Yeah.
Because we were on a tight timeline to begin with, so we may not be able to give any grants for the remainder of this fiscal year.
Well,
because originally we were trying to make a decision by April 1st.
Yes. Yes, April 1st, so that we could decide and I could notify the people in time for their May 1st real estate tax payments. I think we should still just prepare ourselves to go as soon as we can. I personally would like to see at least the 4 people that applied for taxation aid funds to sort of automatically get it.
Right.
And I say that not because they've applied. I know they're all needy. I know they're all deserving. But there's a little, I would like to make sure that we use some of this money in fiscal year 2022. I don't want to waste an opportunity to use the funds if they're here.
Now, would you contact them to reapply?
I would not. I would suggest that we not. We know they meet the requirements. They've already met the requirements for the taxation aid fund. So I would suggest that we not require they reapply.
We just give them the same as we did last time? We gave them all 1,000 except for one that had already paid his taxes. Is that correct?
Right. Right, and I would actually give the ARPA funds to all of those people. And then to tell you the truth, I'd move it up, because real estate taxes are handled year by year. They don't, like if you have a balance on one year, it doesn't flow through to the next year. So all of these people would end up with probably credits on their real estate tax bill, and I'd just move it up to next year. They'd owe that much less out of their August payment. But it would be applied in fiscal year 22, and I think that's the goal.
Well, could we
So-
still apply it for the next tax cycle, for the next tax billing, if we approved it?
Or we could do that too. Yeah, well,
Because when
I
do you
think
send
the
out the
money,
bill?
let me see. We could, because by June 1st, no, I'm sorry, we probably could not, because the tax bills probably, well, they might,
When do you send the tax bills out? May 1st?
no, they're actually sent out July 1st, which means that they're available on the system by middle of June or towards the beginning of June. So there is time to
So we-
approve something in fiscal year 22. It's just that it would be applied to a fiscal year 23 bill, and I was trying to get them onto the fiscal year 22 bills so that
Yeah.
the year of credit equaled the year that we dispersed the funds in. Even if I moved it up later, even if I did a transfer later, at least it was applied to a person's real estate tax bill in that year.
Right.
And that's
So-
just me. I'm just talking. That's just me talking out loud.
Right. So
Right.
you could apply it in, like, say, June 15th. And then when that tax bill comes out July 1st, it would already be credited onto that account, correct?
Yes, it would. Yes.
And that would show up on your fiscal 2022 billing
No.
cycle?
No,
Oh,
it would
that's
show
shopping.
up on the fiscal. That would show up on the fiscal 23
Right.
bills. So I was trying to arrange it, and we might be thinking too far ahead, but I was trying to arrange it so that anything that was applied out of this round was applied to fiscal year 22 bills, because it's
Right.
fiscal year 22 money. So I
Right.
wanted it applied to fiscal year 22 bills so that, you're kind of looking at apples and apples. To the individual taxpayer, it doesn't make any difference because ultimately they get the benefit
Right.
next year. So, but from a following the paper trail
Right.
aspect, which I suspect a lot of these funds, I mean, a lot of money has been thrown at cities and states. And that's great, but as we now know, the regulations are still forthcoming.
Right.
And I'm quite sure there's going to have to be audits and making sure that everything was done properly, after the fact.
Right.
So I'm just trying to keep fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 22. So that's a little bit disappointing, but maybe we could talk about where we would be advertising it, the second round, when we get to that point.
Yeah. So before we go down that road, I have some thoughts on what you were saying. I think I understand where you're coming from, where we would go back to the people who originally applied and give them the ARPA funds. I think I would have to think about that because, on the face of it, I think it's the right thing to do to make sure that the people who are eligible get it. But I am not a fan of the idea of making it available to some people and not all.
Oh, yep. Okay. Yep.
So
yep.
I would like to make it available to them, but at the same time make it available to everybody.
Yes.
I think that's probably the best way to do it.
Yep.
But then we're gonna be the timeline is really what's gonna hamstring us. Because May, those bills are Q4, right? That are coming out.
Yes.
So that's my thought with that, because I would, I'm fine with, maybe just either giving them a call or sending them an email and saying, would you like to reapply? Yes or no? Right.
Sure. Yep.
And if they say
Yep.
yes, then we take the same application. And so I wouldn't want to make them go through the whole thing, but I don't want to, I don't want to show it as anybody getting any kind of preference over anybody else in the town.
Yep. Yep. I agree with that.
The other question would be with and this is just more of a thought, if I'm wondering how much it would complicate things if we so these grants, I think we were talking before that there might be some issue in that we may have to cut them directly to the individual. Is that correct? The checks would go directly to the individual, not to your office, Linda.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
The latest on that is that the checks would be cut to both the town of Easton and the applicant,
Okay.
and then they would sign it over to us.
Okay. Because that makes sense, because I think my only concern would be is or one of my concerns would be, is if we were issuing it just to the individual, their bill's already paid or the year's already closed, and then we're giving them a check and expecting to give it back to us. That could get
Right.
there could be some issues there.
Yep.
And then also we would have to, and I think it might be okay to do this, but I think we'd have to consider if we want to give people money when that for FY22, for the current year that we're in, if it's just going to be applied to the next year, if it's worth the, accounting gymnastics, for lack of a better word, to put the money in, apply it to the next year, when we could just save it for the next year and then do the applications. The positive to doing it that way is the money isn't guaranteed. The ARPA money isn't guaranteed. If we don't use it, we're probably likely not going to have it. So that's the positive to applying money to people's accounts. But I would be surprised personally if we are able to use the $100,000 earmarked for us for next year.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I'm not sure if it's worth rushing to apply money to their accounts that's just going to be applied to next year. And then when we go to evaluate the applications next year, we take into consideration aid. So I would think it would only be appropriate to take into consideration the aid that they got for the previous year applied to the next year's bill. You see where I'm going with this? I think it just makes it a little convoluted when we're trying to think about the best way to handle things.
I do understand what you're saying.
Does that HAPA money have to be used in fiscal 2022?
There is a pot of money that they designated. I think it was $50,000 this year, fiscal year 22, and then $100,000. Wasn't it $100,000 each year for the next so many 2-3 years?
December 2024, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So it was So I did want to, I just spilled something on my computer and now it's doing funny things. I hope I don't lose you all. So I just, I don't want to have the money and not use it.
Yeah, I understand, and me too. But I think we need to consider what the net end impact would be, because
Yes.
I think if we, if we find ourselves in a situation where we don't get word back until most people are already paying their bills,
Right.
or have already paid their bills, is there really a benefit to either these individuals or to the town to try and rush something out?
Right.
And I would lean towards saying no. But I mean, that's something we can consider when it happens. Like if we're gonna hear back next week, I say let's whip something together and go for it.
Okay.
But if it's gonna be a couple months, I'm just letting you know how I feel about it.
Okay. Okay.
Would that money sit in escrow, the 50,000 for 2022?
I don't believe that it's that. No, it's not something that goes into our account, and I don't believe that it's a thing that would roll forward for us either. I don't
Right.
know. We hadn't really thought of the implications of. I had assumed that if we didn't use, I had assumed from what Connor had said, if we don't use it this year, we're starting fresh next year with
Right.
100,000.
Yes.
We're not taking what's left with us.
Right. Which is why
So
I was hoping
yeah.
that we could use it. Go ahead.
No, I just think we'll have to cross the bridge when we get to it, and depending on when this goes through. Because I do see where you're coming from, and it is unfortunate, because I'd like to get the money in the hands of people, and I think the problem will be is that we won't have time to do, kind of the due diligence of the process, which would be to take some time to let everybody know, give people time to apply, vet the applications. I mean, the application, is something that would take some people some time to fill out. So I don't think we can,
Right.
rush this. But it is what it is, I guess.
Well, I'm not sure where to go from here.
Well, the four residents that we gave the money to, why don't we have them either check a box that says, yes, we would like to reapply, and then we can give them X amount of dollars. I think we decided on $1,000. Wouldn't that be, that way we can continue helping at least those four going forward?
Yeah, we haven't been approved to give out any of the money yet, so I don't want to send anybody anything.
No, I'm just talking about the money that came in from the tax, from the excise tax.
Oh, you mean the $6,800?
Right. Why can't we just move ahead with those four people and have them reapply, and then we can at least keep that ball rolling until the state figures out, or the county figures out what they're going to do with the money.
I would suggest that we keep that money for next year's round of taxation aid committee distributions. Only because the ARPA money is like if if there was no ARPA money, we would be doing one round a year in the
Mhm.
fall, distributed in January or so to all of the applicants. And then wait for the coffers to fill up again and then do another round the next year. Well, we've already done our round for this year. So I think that the taxation aid donations should sit where they're at until next fall when we do the second round of taxation aid funding.
Okay.
And that's what I think.
I agree with that, Linda, because the intention originally, wasn't a hyper focus on this year.
Right.
It was on once a year building a fund, and I think that this ARPA money gives us a real opportunity to save the donations we get so that we
Yes.
can build something for the future and kind of have a legacy so that when the ARPA funds go away, we can still give out significant grants to significant amounts of people for some time. So
Yep.
I would say that I would agree with you on that.
Okay.
Yep.
As far as the original topic was publicity, and we can go to that since the I guess the rest of it's kind of moot. But so I had an idea, and I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. And it probably won't work until next year, but I was thinking instead of putting a flyer in asking for donations, when we send people's property tax bills, put a flyer in advertising the fact that you can apply for assistance. So put a little flyer in that says, need assistance, ? This is available for these people.
Yeah.
This subset, because I'm trying to think of what the best way to get more than 4 people to apply is, right?
Yes.
And I'm not sure what that is, because I think all we have available to us is really the bills and kind of your local media outlets and social media and things like that. And I'm trying to think of a more effective way to get in front of those individuals. So that would be my thought for next year. Again, it would be too late to do it now, and we can't do it now because we can't advertise this yet. But what I would do right off the bat either way is a press release like we did last time when we asked for donations, the social media post, the Town Crier newsletter, and the Council on Aging newsletter. And that's about it as far as I know. I don't know if there's another way to directly reach seniors in the town. If anybody knows of anything like that, or anything better to, than just putting the word out to everybody.
There we go. I'm sorry. My mute button is not working, so I'm desperately trying to get the background noise out. But there we go. Now I've got it. That's a great idea, Andrew. Putting a flyer in, not asking for money, but asking for applicants. That's a great idea.
I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but
yeah, no, that's great, and probably will be a welcome relief. We can put maybe a little tiny print on it that says, "Oh, if you want to donate instead, you can do that too."
Yeah, right? You can do this too. Yeah. Why not serve both purposes? I agree.
Right, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, because I think I would imagine that the applicants that came before were probably people who had reached out to your offices, either Corey or Linda, right? Um, so it's people seeking it out. So if someone gets the bill and they go, "Oh my gosh, how am I going to do this?" and then they see the little flyer right behind it, I think that's the best way to do it. But if we're trying to do something for the spring, I think we'll just have to rely on word of mouth, reach back out to those 4 applicants and hope for the best.
Yep.
I don't
Yep.
think we have any other, there's no other, blanket outreach like that or thing that everybody gets.
Yep. I think that all sounds very reasonable.
Yeah. Okay. So, is will Connor let you know, Linda, if
Yeah,
and when we get a green light?
I'll keep in contact with he and Wendy about that. Yeah, because that's a little bit of a setback.
Yeah. So I would. I'm thinking that we might not want to schedule another meeting until we
Yep.
until we know. I mean, we'll probably need to meet again in June, but if we're getting some sort of approval, we'll want to meet before that. So I think maybe we just don't even schedule
Okay.
our next meeting
I think
right
that's
at this time.
I think that's smart. I'll stay in contact with Wendy and Connor. And as soon as I know, I will let everybody else know.
Quick thing. There's one thing that we do up in the at the Board of Assessors is we have an elderly real estate tax exemption and the requirements and stuff like that. Maybe there's something that a flyer or something like that you can put up upstairs in the assessor's office that would, when the elderly do come in to file for their exemptions, maybe they can apply for that too.
That's a good idea too. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Because
we
they're
can.
gonna
I
file,
mean,
they file with us anyway, at the, on the, up in the assessing office. So maybe that's something that you can, talk to Robbie about and, see if there's something we can put up there so that when they do, fill out do their filing, that maybe they can apply for that too.
yeah, I think that's a great idea. And if we could, I mean, maybe we could. It's as simple as printing out, you know, 30 applications and putting them in certain place. I haven't been to town hall in a while, so I don't know
Well,
where you'd
I
put
don't
it,
know.
but
Maybe just put up a sign for that,
Yeah.
when they do for the seniors that, you're, check out the, the, ARPA money that, you may be eligible for. Something on that.
Yeah, that would be great. If you
Because
could look into
the
that would be
exemptions
great.
have to be filed in January anyway. As far as I know, they have to be in by February 1st, I think.
Mhm.
So, I mean, at least you could piggyback. I mean, it would only be up there for a month and a half anyway. So at least at that point, if you're going to disperse the funds at the beginning of the third quarter, I mean, the first quarter, then they'd already have their exemptions in and can apply for the this money too.
Yep.
No, that's good. I like that. So it
Good idea.
sounds like we're already past that point for this year, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a list you can check to see who got the exemptions. I don't know. It's not really public knowledge, so
It's not, but
that-
I can always run a report and find out who got them.
right. Yeah, because I mean that's all confidential, but you could run the report to see who got the exemptions on there and maybe send out a flyer or, I'm just trying to think how you can do it, especially if you're trying to get rid of, if the money does come through, if you're trying to get through the 50, that might be something to look into.
Yep.
We average, I mean, there'd just be a difference because I think it's elderly, veterans, disabled, and there's it's blind too. So I'm not sure how it would, on the paperwork, if it would run that kind of report for you.
I would have to try different ways, but
Right.
yeah, I could do that. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to. I mean, especially if you're gonna, if they need
Right.
to, if you need to, get rid of the 50 before the end of fiscal 22, that might be a vehicle that we can use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think I have any issues with that, because at first I was thinking that maybe, we don't want to overly target any one individual, but at the same time we are doing our best we will be doing our best to tell everybody. So
Yep.
if we, it's kind of like the extra mile. We're not singling any one subset out saying these people can apply and only these people. So I don't see any. I think that's a pretty good idea. I like that idea.
Okay.
Because it's an existing tool that we could use.
Right, and these people are, I think, as far as I remember, it's 65 and older. So,
Actually, I come to think of it, I already have all that information in a spreadsheet that's split up by the type of exemption and everything. It's part of what I do when I do the tax bills. So I've already got that. It's got their names, their addresses, everything on it.
yeah,
I just make a bunch of labels and send it out.
yeah. So I mean, if it's a benefit, I mean, especially if the money does come through and you have to use it by the end of the fiscal,
Right.
that might be something that we can tag and tag those people and at least get those people involved in.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
So Linda, I also saw that you had written in.
Yeah. Did you do that already, Andrew?
I did.
Oh,
I
okay.
did.
All right. I couldn't remember for the life of me. And I was
I
like,
didn't tell. So I didn't tell anybody. I didn't know.
oh, okay.
So that's why I didn't know if, obviously I'm new to being in this role. So I just responded back to her with an annual report.
Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't know if we needed, if it's something that we do need to vote on, or if I need to circulate it. I can.
I wouldn't, as chairman. I think that's within the scope of your prerogative to write the memo. I'm okay with that. I just couldn't remember, and I was doing my own, and then too late, I thought, wait a minute, what about the Taxation Aid Committee? And so I whipped something together this morning, and just in case we needed to have something. It was due like a while ago. I don't even know if we would have been able to get it in had we needed it. But
yeah, I wrote it up. I don't remember when it was due, but I wrote it up during the big snowstorm.
Okay. Good enough. Good enough. Then just discard that.
Yeah, we're good. And I think
All
it
right.
was probably pretty similar to yours, where
Okay.
I just wrote a summary of what we had done.
Yeah.
Okay. So, oh, sorry, Corey. I guess Corey's kind of leading the meeting, but I was going to say that
It's okay. Go ahead.
I think that's probably it for today. I don't want to suggest another meeting date.
Right.
If you guys prefer that we have a meeting on the books, we can. But I'm thinking we can just adjourn this meeting and play it by ear.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. I move to adjourn tonight's taxation aid meeting.
I second that.
Right, we got a motion to adjourn, seconded by Linda Hawks, and meeting is adjourned.
All
Thank you.
right, thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Bye,
Have a good
everybody.
night.
Two.